Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. All praise be to Allah, the Lord of the heavens and the earth, and peace and blessings be upon our beloved messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to your channel, Voice of Islam New Zealand. And today I am honored to have our honorable Sheikh Kababa. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. How are you today?
I'm very well, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Very good to have you here with us in New Zealand.
Jazakallah khair. Sheikh, as you know that the Ummah is one body, and at the moment one part of the Ummah is suffering, and this suffering is causing pain to all of us. We are talking about Palestine, and specifically in Gaza, what has been happening for the past 2 weeks. And in the beginning, Sheikh, we want you to clarify and tell us why is the situation in Palestine important to us as Muslims?
For us, Sheikh, as you mentioned, that the Muslim nations are part of our Muslim nation is one body.
Yes.
When one part of the body suffers or feels the pain, the rest of the body too feels the pain. For us, Palestine is very important because it is core of our belief,
Yes,
and core of our identity. Islam doesn't have geographical barriers. Palestine has Al-Aqsa. For us, it is one of the third greatest masjid for believers. As the Prophet ﷺ said that visiting mosque can only be done for three. That is the Masjid al-Haram, which is in Mecca, and also the Al-Masjid al-Nabawi, which is his masjid in Medina, and Al-Masjid al-Aqsa. We also know that the Isra and the Miraj that took place, it started from Mecca, Al-Haram al-Makki, to Al-Aqsa. Offering one fard salat in Al-Aqsa, the reward for it is the equivalent, one will be credited for 500 rewards of salat.
yeah,
And the Muslims there, our brothers and sisters, non-Muslims who live there, they are our brothers in humanity.
yes,
We feel their pain too. Sheikh, to understand the situation in Gaza today, as the saying goes, Al-hukmu ala shay'i farun an tasawwurihi. To judge, to rule on something, you have to picture it, you have to understand it. We just elaborated from the Islamic perspective of the importance of the unity between the Muslims, and also the importance of Masjid al-Aqsa to Muslims, be it Mongolian, be it Palestinian, be it wherever you are, be it a Maori, you are a Muslim, those people, they are your brothers and sisters. Now, to understand it, we need to see how Israel was established in Palestine. We cannot avoid that. We cannot zigzag to talk about the core issue that is occurring in Palestine, sadly, without addressing that. Otherwise, we will not be given it. We will not be given this topic it right.
yes,
We know they wanted to establish them first in Uganda, as history tells us. I'm just summarizing this. But at the end, they decided no, Palestine, Gaza. And they decided they will just bring few. And then after that, the numbers started growing and growing. For the past 75 years, the people of Palestine been suffering
Because of this occupation.
because of the occupation. For the past 75 years, how many have lost their lives? How many have lost their income? And we are seeing what is happening. And to see today what is happening, we Muslims as individuals, we have failed our brothers and sisters in Palestine. The so-called international community, they have failed humanity in Palestine. If we look at the recent current leaders, we see their comments, we see their actions. You can tell there's a bias toward the occupier rather than the one who's been occupied. One example for that is Joe Biden. He visited. Before this visit, how many Palestinians, be it Muslim or non-Muslim, how many been murdered, how many been tortured, how many Palestinians are currently in Lebanon? Has he ever visited them? Has he shared their sorrow with him? No. And to be sending weapons to say, and turn around and say, I'm negotiating for food to be brought, and I want to de-escalate, and yet sending weapons, that is contradicting. We also see the president of the European Union, I think her name is von der Leyen. We all heard her comment. Their ambassador for foreign affairs, Joseph Borrell, we heard his comment. Rishi Sunak, after Biden left, he is coming. Now German, now they all are coming. They all are piling up to stand with the occupier. This is not justice. This is not right. For us believers, we believe as Muslims, this deen will prevail. We feel the pain the brothers and the sisters are going through. And Allah, our Creator, has granted us a weapon that no one can take that from a believer. That is the power of supplications. For Allah to ease the sufferings of the Palestinians. Any life lost, we regret it and we should regret it. But until the international community, if they believe in democracy, and if they believe in the freedom they call for, they must stop the occupier. They must stop the occupier invading and killing the Palestinians. I don't sit here and say this without pain. The whole humanity has failed Palestine. SubhanAllah. Sadly, the whole humanity have failed Palestine, particularly those who see themselves as free, as people who live on democracy. We need to take this and embed it with what is happening in some part of Africa. Many are trying to get away from the West, from the colonizers.
Yes.
We see what's happening in Mali, we see what happened in Burkina Faso, we see what happened in Niger. They are saying, enough for France, enough. Your democracy and your freedom doesn't work for us.
Yes.
Allahu Alam. Allah knows best.
Now, Sheikh, I want you to look at the other perspective of people of other faiths when they were totally ignorant about the history of Palestine for the past 70 years. of occupation and kidnapping and torture and murder and so on. And they only came to know about the incident from the 7th of October. And when they look at it from the 7th of October, they see that the oppression came from Hamas side or from the Palestinian side towards Israel. And based on that, they do not find the information from the right sources. They only look at one side of the story. And because of the power of media and propaganda, they came to a conclusion that the aggressor is Hamas. The simple example of propaganda is the idea of the 40 babies that were beheaded, which was not true, and there was no evidence and nobody saw anything to prove that.
Yep.
But the entire world believed that.
Yep.
So how important is it for the Western world and people of other faiths to find information from the right resources, and also to go back to history and not only start looking at this case from the 7th of October?
This is very important. The Western media, the so-called powerful Western media, some of them, they do tend to present, I would say 99.9 of them tend to represent the Palestine issue as with wrong narrative.
Yes.
And sadly, we Muslims, we are very quiet too. We need to try and work harder and educate ourselves and educate the people, the community we live with, the communities we mingle with. And let's try and present Islam as it is. Let's try and present the Palestinian history as it is. Otherwise, it will be just, if we rely on the Western media, it will be wrong. Because we see, again, going back to the Americans, Joe Biden said to the Israelis, don't do the mistake we made. So they took on board that Iraq have got the weapon of mass destructions. And they presented it, and Western media all went
Believed
ahead,
it?
Believed it, and yet they went and it wasn't there. And the so-called murdered babies in Israel did not exist. It's just a fake news. It shouldn't be called news because it is not a news, because it is a lie. It should not be called so. So we are to call the Western media to present the truth as it is. Sadly, some who do that, they tend to lose their job or resign, because when they side with the truth, they will be seen, oh, you're anti-West, you're anti-this, you're anti-that. No. We as believers, we live in New Zealand. We are so grateful. We live in a country where we have the freedom of speech, but with respecting others. We say, we present our faith as it is true. And that is what we want from the Western media to do. And for us believers, Muslims, we need to do more to present Islam through Islam, not through the Western media.
But Sheikh, don't you agree that we as Muslims as well have not been doing our part in being involved heavily in the media industry to show the correct narrative? As you know, even if you look at the past 2 weeks of aggression, how many Muslim channels were covering the correct narrative? You find even sometimes, and I'm very sad to say this, that Muslim media agencies are also against the resistance in Hamas, and they are showing a different narrative that is not the truth. So our weakness in the media industry has caused others to take over the narrative.
Absolutely.
And to spread what is suitable for their agenda.
That is absolutely true. And it is sad to say, because we shouldn't be behaving like that. I'm not trying to find an excuse for the Muslims media who do that. But some of them, they are worried about what the authorities, where they live in, what the authorities might do to them, because it is like they go with the flow, which is absolutely wrong. The presenter should be presenting the news as it is, historically, currently, without providing any personal advice or any personal opinion. It's just saying it as it is.
Yes. Now, Sheikh Baba, we go to the public, the Muslims. I think maybe before the 7th of October, it's very common to hear from Muslims that, oh, the issue of Palestine is a national issue. Only Palestinians have to deal with it. And they don't associate it with the Ummah. They associate that this is a problem, an internal problem between the Zionists and the Palestinians, and they will sort out their own issue. Recently, alhamdulillah, with the incidents that happened, somehow the Ummah has awakened and have realized that no, this is not a national issue, it is an Ummah issue. And hopefully that this awakening will continue. But what is your advice to the Muslim public in terms of this?
My advice, my personal advice to the Muslim community in this is we need to take this as not just Muslims' affairs. It should be a global issue. Because if we want to live in peace and tranquility, we have to make sure that to the best of our ability, there is no other human being who has been occupied, who has been terrorized, who has been expelled from their own land. We should make sure that that does not happen. In fact, World War I and World War II, that led to the birth of the United Nations, should be a lesson for the humanity. So the Palestinians' situation, the Palestinians' problem is a global issue, and for the Muslims, it should be a special issue.
Sheikh, I will give you a scenario where you are at the beach and you see a boat, people drowning, and you are able to swim to help them, but instead you are occupied to investigate why are they drowning, what happened to the boat, how can we fix it and it doesn't happen again. What is the priority, Sheikh? To save the people's lives or to investigate why the boat, allowed them to drown? And this, the reason why I'm giving you this scenario, because the Muslim leaders today are having one meeting after another to discuss and condemn and find solutions for a peaceful resolution between the two and how they can live in coexistence, while the main priority issue at the moment is people don't have water, they don't have food, they don't have medicine, they don't have electricity, they don't have fuel, and most importantly, they are losing their lives. So we need to set our priorities right, and we need to have a firm stance to help our brothers and sisters, or by the time we finish all our meetings, there'll no longer be someone called a Palestinian alive.
Those leaders who are meeting to discuss, first of all, they have agreed to disagree. they have agreed to not to be united. So all they are doing is just trying to save their faces, in my view. Otherwise, there are so many things they can do to help and to assist the Palestinians. It is only if they put themselves and their families, and we and the entire global humanity put themselves in the Palestinian shoes, feel their pain, then we realize this is an issue needed to be addressed now and solved now. Because what the Israelis are saying that they will wipe out Hamas, they need to go back and see what happened in Afghanistan, about Taliban, and they need to go back and see what happened in Iraq. They need to go back to Syria and see what happened to ISIS. I'm not saying this group, what they did was good. I'm not trying to condone all that. I'm just giving this as an example. You cannot wipe a faith. You cannot wipe an ideology. You may kill people, but you will not be able to wipe them out.
Yes.
These incidents have led for many non-Muslim friends who have made contact, who have asked, we feel what the Palestinians are going through. These are non-Muslims who doesn't have any interest in becoming Muslims. But the moment they see what is happening to another human being, they disagree with the occupier. We see demonstration taking place. It's not only Muslims are participating in that. In Britain, for example, they said if you are caught waving the Palestinian flag, you'll be seen as if you are supporting Hamas.
Yeah.
What happened yesterday? How many people came? How many demonstrated?
Yeah.
Waving the flag. Were they Muslims? Many of them were not.
Yeah.
In fact, if you ask some of them, they will say, I don't believe in God. But yet, they went and did. So, it is a shame for the Muslims, particularly the rulers and leaders who have got more influence, and yet they haven't used their influence to use the sufferings of the Palestinians.
Sheikh, there are two verses in the Qur'an.
Yeah.
The translation of these verses, one of them says, "Verily Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is within them."
Yeah.
And the second verse says, and the second verse says, "And not a calamity afflicts you except of what your hands have brought forward." It means out of your own action, that's why you get this calamity.
Yeah.
How can we translate these two verses in the lives of the Muslims, that all of these calamities that are happening to us because we walked away from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
I mean, mashallah, jazakallah khairan, you have given the answer to that. Because until we can summarize briefly these two verses and combine them, that until we go back to the Qur'an and until we go back to the authentic Sunnah of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, until we take all our manners and our behaviors to be as what Islam is supposed to be, until we do that, this situation, sadly, we'll find ourselves in this situation once again, sadly. But only going to the teachings of the Quran and the authentic Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and being Muslim as Islam was presented to us, as Islam is presented to us and to humanity. So when people see me, they know I'm a Muslim without seeing me wearing what I'm wearing, When I talk, they know I'm a Muslim without saying I'm a Muslim, because I have to be honest with myself, and I have to love myself and love for my neighbor what I loved for myself. I have to behave according to the Qur'an and Sunnah. Only then the Ummah will change, and only then the victory will come. And the victory will come because the Prophet ﷺ said in a very authentic hadith, give the glad tidings. He said Islam started very strangely.
Yes.
And it will return strange as it began, and give the glad tidings to the strangers.
Yes. Sheikh, the reason why I'm asking you this is because there is protests throughout the world, and everybody is praying for victory for the Palestinians. But you find people who are protesting, who are Muslims, they might not pray, they might not supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they might be singing and dancing in the protest, which is disobeying Allah. Women might not be covered the way Allah has asked them to be covered, and yet they think by simply protesting and crying and hoping to get victory, they will get victory. So maybe we can change a little bit the perspective of a Muslim.
Absolutely, yeah. Those people, what they're doing is what is known as taqdim al-fadil taqdim al-maftul al-fadil, is they are not prioritizing what needed to be done. Because first, you need to be good practicing Muslim. These people, I'll call them, they are using their emotions.
Yes.
Rather than using their head built with the faith. If they were to do that, first, they will not miss a prayer. Second, they will not disobey. They will not disobey the Creator. Thirdly, they will be presenting Islam as it should be.
Yes.
And fourthly, they will not be using or acting with emotion, because whenever we make a decision or we act on our emotion, we'll end up to be losing the plot.
Finally, Sheikh, I wanted to ask you about people who feel depressed of what is going on in the world today to our brothers and sisters in Gaza, and they feel that we are not in the field with them. There is nothing we can do. What can a Muslim do to support his fellow brothers and sisters who are suffering in Palestine today? People who are far, people who don't have political power, people who cannot go and protect the oppressed. So what else can we do as Muslims to support those who are in Gaza?
We can support them by way of faith first, supplicating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save them and to ease their suffering and to grant martyrdom to their dead ones, and also to heal the injured and to bring peace and tranquility in the region and throughout the globe. This is number one. Number two, if you want to support them financially and you know there's a trustworthy organization, legal organization that will be able to send food, water, medicines, absolutely do it. Do not underestimate what you put in. If it is too much, don't see it as too much. If it is little, don't see it as little. Because if I put my $1 and you put your $1, another person put their $1, it adds up. It saves. We'll not be able to save all Palestinians, but we will be able to save at least one family or one individual.
Yeah. And finally, Sheikh, the power of media, what we're doing today is we need to continue our work in presenting the truth, presenting the facts, and being always on the field to represent our brothers and sisters in social media, in all platforms that we can. And we know that there is a very furious war against us on the social media. the narrative is far more powerful than the narrative of the Muslims, but we still have to continue to the last bit to present our case, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala support and aid our brothers and sisters in Palestine and give us soon victory bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Baba. Thank you very much for being with us, and thank you very much for our viewers on Voice of Islam New Zealand. See you soon, inshaAllah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.